time when the church was leading the way with creativity. If you look back in history with fine arts, stained glass, hymns, cathedrals, there was a real beauty and a value of it. And actually in the 16th century, when they simplified the gospel, it felt like the value of creativity was lost. And since then, at the time it was kind of negligible, but since then this gap is like, the world is not looking to the church for this creative excellence. A lot of creatives are dyslexic, and it's really interesting that I think that actually is a superpower, and it makes me very good at being creative and doing my design work.
You tying your faith to your business, I found that really courageous, because usually it's like you're told to separate those things. Like, why should your faith have anything to do with your business? But you've made your faith the basis of your business. And in so doing, you're also helping to obviously advance the kingdom, encourage other people. Welcome back to the Real Life, Real Faith podcast. It's great to have you here once more. My name is Odi, and
my name is Precious. Today we have a very lovely and amazing guest in our midst. We are thrilled to have her here. Her name is Josie, and she'll be introducing herself in a minute, but I just want to run through how we met. How we met can actually be a funny but not so funny story. I'll be real quick about it. The world is really turning into a global village now, we know. So I actually met Josie on a social media platform, Facebook actually. And it was just through a post that I made. So there was a write-up about what we do in Eagle Media Hub and Real Life, Real Faith podcast. And I posted it on one of the Facebook groups I was in. And it gave me the option to post to other groups. And I was like, okay, that wouldn't be bad. The wider reach, the better. And actually, some of the groups it gave me, I wasn't a member of it yet. So I was just to join, and then the post will be made. And our group, Christian Creative Network, was one of them. So I made the post. It was before one of my shifts, and I went for my shift. And at the end of my shift, I was looking at my phone to see what's up from the post I made. And I saw that she had dropped a comment. So our comment on my post was just more of trying to authenticate the post to be sure it's not just one random scammer. And when I saw the post, the comment rather, I actually wanted to ignore because I knew I'm real. But on a second thought, I thought to take it serious and pour my heart into replying her comment. And I did. And it paid off. And here we are. So she responded to my comment, my lengthy comment about how real we were. And I responded back. She responded back. I responded back. And at the point, she was just like, you know what? Can we talk in our DMs? And I was like, oh, that would be perfect. And here we are. Josie is an amazing person. She is the founder of Christian Creative Network. She will do the introduction herself. Josie, once again, we are very thrilled to have you in our midst.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you do us the favor to just tell us who is Josie Gamble?
Yes, I can. So Josie Gamble is, I'm a 46-year-old woman. I live in Wolverhampton, and I would describe myself as a creative entrepreneur and encourager. So my passions are creativity. I run my own design business, Gamble Designs. So I've done that for 18 years. That's brand, graphic and web design. And I'm the founder and director of the Christian Creative Network and the Christian Creative Directory. So I founded those a few years ago. I can always tell you a bit more about those in a minute, but that's who I am.
Oh, welcome. That's lovely. Wow. You've done something for 18 years. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Okay. So quickly, we'll go into a discussion to just, hear your opinions and perspective on some of the things out of curiosity, and to help people to know better and do better. So I believe that our God is a creative. And if he created us, because I believe God created the heavens and the earth, and even looking at the earth, the universe and all it contains, we can tell for sure that it must have been created by a very creative mind. It speaks of excellence. It depicts creativity. And if we that were made in the image and likeness of God, that tells us that we carry a gene of creativity. If God, our Father, is a creative or is the master creative. And so to you, what does creativity mean, or what does it mean to be a creative?
I mean, creativity is a broad expression. There's lots that it encompasses, but you touched on it at the beginning where you said that, God created the heavens and the earth. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting that God actually first revealed himself to mankind as the creator God. He starts in the beginning with creation. And I totally agree. I believe that, we're made in God's image, therefore we are inherently creative. So I believe it's part of the human design that we are creative. I think sometimes through education, that creativity can be educated out of you because we're taught what a tree should look like and what a tree shouldn't look like. And I think all children are inherently creative. You don't have to teach them to pick up a pencil and make a mark. They just do it. But somewhere along the line, you may even remember yourself, you sat in school and a teacher said, that's not how you draw something. And you think, oh, I'm not creative. And yet creativity is so much more than that. There are tools that we can use, like learning to use a camera, learning to use a computer, learning to use a pen and paper. Those are skills that you can learn. But creativity, I believe, is inherently sort of creating something from nothing. It's thinking outside of the box. It's the power to act. And it's a response that's immensely personal for some people. I use my creativity to solve problems. I design solutions for businesses. But there is something about creativity just reflecting God's goodness. And all of creation does that anyway. And, it even says that the trees and the mountains will cry out to glorify God if we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, how much more then should we? But I truly believe that actually it's our worship to God. It's our response to who he is. And it can be delivered in lots of different ways. So yeah, there's so much more could say on that. But I think that kind of sums up for me where creativity sits.
Wow.
I like the fact that you said, I mean, I'm coming out of education. It's been about a few years now, but I like the fact that you said I acknowledge that definitely they draw it out of you. And I think because how life happens, you don't find the space anymore to be creative or do things that you even love. So for you, what's let's say you have the whole day to yourself. There's no business, work. What's the one thing you're I enjoy doing this?
The one thing I enjoy, well, it would be hard to narrow it down to one thing. We bought a wreck of a house a few years ago.
Yeah.
18 years ago, to be precise. And it used to be a women's refuge. So they'd kind of turned it into this office space. Yeah. So there was a payphone in the hallway. There was a fire escape at the front of the house. There was pink wood chip wallpaper throughout and all sorts of other horrible things. But the shell of the house was this big Victorian home. So we've spent 18 years kind of turning it back into a home. Wow. And really, that's been my kind of creative side passion, if you like, because I love what I do for my business. But when it's your job, you do sometimes just need something for yourself. Yeah. So I love having been able to make those decisions sort of with the inside of the house.
But an 18-year project.
It's been an 18-year project. I mean, we had 3 children in the meantime. That kind of slowed things right down. In fact, I remember when my eldest, she'll turn 17 soon, but the reason we found out she could sleep through the night was because one night we were outside banging out, they'd boxed in the stairwell.
And she didn't hear a thing.
Banging it out. Well, she didn't wake up because normally we'd wake her, feed her, and then she'd go through. But we suddenly thought, it's 2:00 in the morning. We haven't woken her up. I like a good puzzle as well. Awesome. I think because I'm a visual person, I think having something visual to distract my mind, my mind's always going. So if I'm doing a puzzle, I'm not worrying on about other things.
I also really liked in the beginning how you said, when you described yourself, you said, I'm an encourager, which I think I've never heard anyone describe themselves as okay, this is what I do. So why exactly do you describe yourself as an encourager?
It's a really good question. I think because... So when I launched the Christian Creative Network, it was the mission is to champion creativity in the church. And really what championing is encouraging. So to encourage, to put courage in someone.
And that's a good one.
So in fact, the same way that infuse is to theo in God, but God in someone.
Okay.
So to infuse someone, in fact, Christians should be the most enthusiastic because we've got
have
God in us,
Okay.
but to
Yeah.
encourage as well. And so really the network gathers together local, like-minded Christian creatives to encourage each other. And you get encouraged when you see other people succeeding or facing obstacles and overcoming, or just being around like-minded people who think the same. So I've always sort of said, I don't have to teach a creative their creativity. I just have to let them know they have permission. So to release that permission in them, and part of that's the encouraging.
Oh. Wow. One of the things I really appreciate about you is the fact that you are a Christian and that you are channeling all of this around, the children of God and other fellow Christians. So I would like to ask a question, if you don't mind. Can you walk me through your Christian journey?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So my parents were Christians, still are Christians. And so in one sense, I was born into a Christian family, but that didn't make me a Christian. They were very much about fostering that relationship for myself with God, with Jesus. And I do remember when I was 5, I remember kneeling down at the side of my parents' bed. They were in the room, and I think I was mirroring a picture I must have seen somewhere. And I just prayed and said, Jesus, come into my heart. And I seem to remember that was the second time I did it. I don't know what the first time was, but and so I knew from that age, I know my parents would teach us about the Bible and the ways of God. So I grew up in a church context. I've got 2 brothers and a sister, and all of us made that choice to follow Jesus.
Wow.
But I never really, all through my teens, I was a Christian, I had a faith, but you're kind of questioning, because I think when you're younger, you adopt your parents' faith. Although it was my choice, it was their reasoning, their experience.
Absolutely.
And I remember as a teenager, I went on mission to London, and we were speaking to people on the streets. I think it was in Leicester Square. And I remember the whole time we were there as a youth group, the only person I spoke to turned out to be a witch. And they'd gone there specifically to distract people spreading the gospel. And it was really interesting because I found myself challenged that I couldn't confidently express everything that I knew to be true. And for the first time, I asked the question, is God real? And I wasn't doubting it because I knew he was, but I doubted my experience, not my experience of it, my ability to communicate it. And although I truly believed God and loved him and knew him, I'd never actually asked the question for myself, is God real? I just accepted it. So that kind of sent me on a little bit of a journey of just almost reaffirming what I knew, but adding my own thought process to it and not just adopting what I'd heard my parents say or a youth leader say or a preacher say. So that was kind of my early teens. And then I decided after my A-levels, in fact, I did an art foundation course after that. And then I did a year at Bible college. And it was fabulous because, I went with lots of questions. I probably came out with even more questions, but I had a greater understanding of the Bible, how it's written, how you can read it, how you study it and learn from it. And so that was really formidable. And then from that, I came to Wolverhampton. I came as a student. I came to study industrial product design at the University of Wolverhampton. But I came because I felt called. And if I wind back a little bit, halfway through my year at Bible college, I had my offer at Wolverhampton University. I deferred it for a year so I could go to Bible college. And halfway through the year, I just thought, I'm excited about the course, but there was nothing about Wolverhampton that I was familiar with. There were no churches that I was familiar with. And I just thought, do you know what? I'm not going to go to Wolverhampton. And I started actually looking at other university prospectuses. And that week, a guy called Tony Wastel came to teach at the Bible college. He was teaching on like end time theology or something. But he said, before I share what I've got to share, I want to talk about what God's called me to do. And he started and he said, I'm starting a church in Wolverhampton. And I don't know what he said after that, because as soon as he said it, it was like everything inside of me went off. And I was like, well, that's why I'm going. So it was almost like God had opened the door to Wolverhampton before I knew why I was really going there. So I was involved with the starting of the church from the start. I'm still a member of the church 25 years later.
Wow.
So I've always said I came to Wolverhampton as a student, but I felt called by God. And then that brought me to Wolverhampton. And the rest is history.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So I remember when you were talking about creativity, answering who a creative was, you said something very, very profound. You said creativity is our response to God, is our way of glorifying Him. So I would like to ask, when did you actually discover yourself as a creative?
So I think I've always, I ask my children now, what do you enjoy doing? And you tend to be, what you enjoy doing tends to be what you're good at.
Yeah.
So rather than saying, what's your favorite subject? It's easier just to say, what do you enjoy?
Yeah.
And, my girls actually enjoy maths and they're good at it. So, they also enjoy creative stuff as well. So I think I've always enjoyed the creative side of things. And so I've known from very early on that I'd always wanted, kind of through my education, I chose the creative kind of subjects for GCSE and A levels and then for a degree. So I've kind of always pursued it and I find that I was good at it. And, I'd get praise. Or the teacher would say, look what Josie's done. And so I think when you start getting feedback like that, you think, I must be good at it. Yeah. And I would just be quite prolific at it. I would just do it. It wouldn't be a chore to produce creative stuff. So, and then I actually was diagnosed as dyslexic when I was younger, which a lot of creative people are. Yeah. And I've learned to see actually, I could talk about dyslexia and diagnosis for a whole nother subject, but I don't like the word diagnosis. I'd rather say identify, because a diagnosis makes it sound like it's a bad thing. Yeah. I actually think being dyslexic is just a understanding that my brain works differently, which makes me really good at the visual creative side of things. If a doctor can't draw, people don't think that's a problem. Yeah. But if an artist can't do math, it's a problem. And I just think there's just different ways of the brain working. Yeah. And so again, maybe going back to that statement I said earlier about creativity being educated out of you. I think so much is placed on maths and English. It makes it feel like sometimes that creative things or creative skills and gifts are substandard.
Minority.
And I don't think they are at all. And so it's really interesting. But anyway, I think a lot of creatives are dyslexic, and it's really interesting that I think that actually is a superpower, and it makes me very good at being creative and doing my design work.
I think when sometimes maybe, I don't want to say the inability to do something, but realizing that, I actually have talents elsewhere. I think if you just channel all the energy instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I can't, do this, I can't do this. You actually find your space, and you'll find people who are, who appreciate you as you are, who want to champion you as you are, definitely. So I think we should definitely focus more on and like you said, God has created us all differently. God has given you this talent to do this, and He's given me, I don't know what mine is.
You'll get to know.
You have your life to figure it out.
Exactly. You have your life to figure it out.
But I think maybe when I was growing up, it was definitely maths, English, science. It was never arts, photography. And I wish we had the space to definitely do that more. That's why I quite like what you do with bringing people together, because I think sometimes even just being a creative can be really solitary. It's you just do your thing. Yeah. We'll do this podcast alone. We don't know that there are other people who are creatives, Christians, who can do this podcast. And I think because, you've noticed okay, I've got this skill, and I also have the skill of encouraging and bringing people together. That means now you and I can share. Yeah. You and I can learn from each other. And I think that's the really important thing about having...
The Bible talks about iron sharpening iron.
Sure. Yeah,
and that's what it is. When you get like-minded people together, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's I'm not on my own. And you hit the nail on the head with a sense of isolation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So actually when I worked for myself, self-employed, but when I started having children, you're even more isolated because actually... capacity goes down and you're a mum and you're limited to kind of what you can do with the children. So when my, so 3 girls, but when my youngest was more in full-time nursery, I don't think you ever get your time back as a mum, just putting that out there, but your capacity comes back in kind of stages. And as my capacity started to come back, I had a real sense to do business networking because I needed to be around other people. And I came across, I actually felt very led to it by the Holy Spirit, this network for mums. It was called Networking Mummies. They've since changed their name, but it was literally a business network for mums who work from home. And I thought that's my kind of people. And it wasn't Christian, it wasn't creative. And I went to this and I was part of it for about 3.5 years. And I was genuinely surprised how much I grew personally. I made friends and my business grew because we traded with each other and we encouraged each other. And it was actually this business networking model that I adapted and based the Christian Creative Network on. So it's a networking model that brings like-minded people together to encourage, support and grow.
I think I've tried networking, and networking is very hard. I don't know if you've tried. I find it
probably you don't have the energy to match, because not everyone does actually. Because I feel some people might be in communities to network and they'll just choose to, ghost. And is that you?
Because no, I don't ghost.
Okay.
I try not to.
Okay.
But I think definitely because in this time and age, everyone's busy. People have so many things to do. And even just because if you think about networking, it's like forming like relationships. Why should I help you in this world? Or why should I give you, you've been doing this business for a very long time. Why should you give this information to someone else? Like, so you have to have the heart to be like, okay, I definitely want to like share what I've learned like with you. So just in terms of like the difficulty of being a Christian creative, like what were the challenges that you were like, okay, this was the difficulties I faced day one, and what are the challenges you face now?
Well, I think there's always new challenges. Being a mother and being pregnant, having babies and then trying to work and grow a family. And I think there are seasons in life and they ebb and flow, and your capacity ebbs and flows. But God is my source, not my job. So I think it starts from the heart, knowing that, God is your source. And so whatever things you face, you can overcome because you've got the overcomer within you. I mean, there was a time, I was jealous of my husband because his career just kind of went up and up and up, and it felt like mine would plateaued because I was like,
your
great.
mom, you have to stay.
I want kids, but I didn't realize it would do this. And so there's this a whole journey of motherhood is a challenge in itself. I think being a woman in business is a challenge. Women prioritize things very differently to men. And you can see that a man would go for a job interview if he can do 50% of the role.
I've heard that.
A woman would go for it if she can do 80% of the role. So, women don't put themselves forward if they know they can't do it, whereas men. So there's different things going on there. I value relationship and value over maybe monetary things. So then I struggle pricing work. Many conversations with female business owners about things like that. And I think it's all a journey, but if it's just you in your own head, it's incredibly hard. But if you can voice that, any lies of the enemy, if you speak them out, it sheds light on them anyway, and you can see the lie for the lie, like you're not worth it. That's why you charge less. Actually, no, sometimes I'm okay charging less because I'm really I'm giving it. And so it just, that's again why we need community and come alongside people and say, oh, what do you do when you've got a difficult customer? Or what about this? They've quoted them this, and they're questioning the price. Should I change the price, or do I stand firm and say, actually, no, this is what it's worth? Anything like that, it's really hard to do on your own. So it's really important just to get alongside other people. And there's different types of networking, because actually church is just one big network.
True.
I actually think Christians are probably the best networkers in the world. If you think about it, like my children, when I was a child, I would call a grandma my friend because I talked to them. And people my parents' age, I would talk to them, and older and younger. And I'm used to talking to all generations. Unless you're in a community like that, the only people you know that are older are parents or teachers or authority figures. And so actually church community is one big network. And it links you with lots and lots of people.
That's true. Yeah, I think so. I think I liked how you were talking about the sound, like using each other as a sounding board, just even as Christians. And definitely I've struggled with, so I see value in myself, so I should charge, or like I should say, yes, okay, I'm valuable, so I deserve to be paid this. And even in business, like that's definitely something I think. So I work for myself. So I struggle with like, okay, how much should I really be asking for? But then when I have like conversations with other people around me, that's when you learn. You don't just learn about like yourself, you learn about like the business, learn about the world and everything. And I think Christians should be a bit more like that. Definitely. We should, instead of just isolating ourselves, because and that's why I found you tying your faith to your business. I found that really courageous, because usually it's like you're told to separate those things. Like, why should your faith have anything to do with your business? But you've made your faith the basis, the basis of your business. And in so doing, like, you're also helping to obviously advance the kingdom, encourage other people. So it's not like I'm struggling in business, but I have a sister who can help me in business, but the advice she would give me is based on the word of God. That's something that I really appreciate with the whole Christian creative network. Definitely. But so who do you go to if you need encouragement? Like the Holy Spirit is your source.
Yeah.
But who else?
So I think I have different people I go to for different things. Like currently we're experiencing some challenges with our 14-year-old. So I've gone to some older mums who've had children go through it, and they can say, I literally rang up this mum and said, could you just tell me it's all going to be okay? Because I know it will be, but I still needed to hear it. And then she was just able to speak so much wisdom. And her children are young, they're married, young adults now. So she's been through it. I spoke to another mum who's going through some similar stuff as well. So different people for different things. I mean, the network I started because I wanted to be around other creatives, but I also meet with two other Christian designers in Wolverhampton, and we talk specifically design stuff, and I might share a lot more with them. My parents are a great source of encouragement, but they're not creative or business owners. So there's certain things I'd go to them for. But there's lots of different people that I'd go to. But I think one of the reasons actually I launched the Christian Creative Directory. So I am a Christian and I'm in business. I wouldn't say my design business is a Christian business. I'm just a Christian who happens to be in business. And I talk about my faith a lot, or I even pray with people, but I don't market myself as a Christian designer because in many senses it's quite a niche market. I'm serving the whole marketplace. I'm not just serving Christians. So I don't, on my business Gamble Designs website, I don't say that I'm a Christian. I mean, if you look at the examples of my work on the website, you can see I've worked with lots of Christians because that's quite a big part of my natural network. But that's why I created Christian Creative Directory, because if you are a church, a business or a charity that is looking for Christian creatives, where do you find them? So the idea behind ChristianCreativeDirectory.com is that you can find Christian creative services. So, if you're a church and you need a website building, we're not saying that Christian creatives are the best. It's as a creative, it's my responsibility to, hone my skill and become better and better. But there is something inherent about understanding the audience that the church is trying to reach, the vision, the values, the language, and the kind of culture. So it's easier to work with a Christian web designer than a non-Christian web designer. And I think most Christian charities or Christian business owners would feel an ease working with a Christian creative. So the reason behind the directory is because if I'm not marketing my business as a Christian one, where do those people find those Christian creative? In fact, a little story, I'm going off on a little one, but it's okay. The charity Christians Against Poverty, so we advertise opportunities on the website as well. So you can find Christian creatives and their services, but you can also post jobs and opportunities. And they posted an opportunity that they were looking for a Christian children's writer. And we posted it out across our socials, several thousand followers. And 14 people responded. And the lady from CAP, she literally said to me, we have never known where to find Christian children's writers. So she said, right, I'm now going to post for a Christian children's illustrator.
That sounds like a very niche.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, for me, creativity includes writing, illustration, videography, photography, all of the creative skill sets. So shortly after they posted for these two opportunities, they released their first resource for children. It was a book that taught children about poverty. And so that's what the directory is there for. It's connecting the businesses, churches and charities with the creatives who can do the work for them. So in actual fact, when you asked me at the beginning, what does creativity mean to you? Probably the best definition of outputs would be on Christian Creative Directory, where we've literally listed 119 different creative services that you can search for. So in terms of what that means, that when I talk about creativity, I'm talking the whole picture, you know, what you might find in a school of art and design.
It's the fact that you listed it. So you take your pick, whichever one you want.
Yeah.
So you've talked about how you stay motivated and encouraged by reaching out to people who have walked that path. So I would just like to ask, what would be your advice to a struggling Christian creative? Or if you meet someone who does not believe that he's a creative, because some people are actually still have that mindset that I don't have any talent, I cannot do anything right, nothing special about me. So if you meet somebody like that who is a Christian, what would be your advice?
My advice is I realize that there's always going to be someone better than you, and there's always going to be someone that you're better than, and it's a journey, and you get better. And I can't remember who said it to me once, but somebody said just that they were faithfully plodding. And sometimes people think, you know, the creative industries, it's very glamorous, all this stuff. And there are glamorous sides of it, but it's just hard work, like any job. So just faithfully plodding is actually okay. And that's what most people do on a daily basis. So just keep pursuing it, keep pushing doors, get alongside others who are a bit further ahead than you, and they can speak into your life, but also get others who that you can speak into, because when you're speaking into somebody else's life, I mean, it's basically, that's discipleship, isn't it?
Yeah.
You actually realize how far you've come. Because you think, I have learned a few things. So it's kind of this flow.
Yeah.
And so you can be discipled in the ways of God, that you can be discipled in the Bible, but you can be discipled in practice and experience and career and all that kind of stuff.
That's true.
And it's a learning curve. Something that really helped me was, again, another phrase that somebody said, that failure is part of your success. And it really hit me, because it dawned on me that probably for most of my life, I had viewed failure as something I needed to avoid. And actually to avoid failure at all costs, even sometimes if that's detrimental to myself. And when I really unpacked that, failure is part of your success, I realized, actually, in order to succeed, I actually have to fail. It's actually part of the journey, because it's only through those failures that we grow. So particularly if that, you know, within the creative, you've just got to put your stuff out there. You've just got to get out there, learn to take criticism. And it's not that you failed, it's you're learning. And so now I embrace failure and think, right, what am I learning through this? Whereas if you avoid it, you're literally stunting your own growth. And some of that can be rooted in fear, you know, fear of making a mistake. And fear's a journey with God, because actually if you're fearing, you're not trusting God. So it comes back to the heart. We have to guard our heart. And if we're right with God, we can grow in lots of other areas of our life.
Okay, do you have any more questions? I think I've run out of mine.
I really do value that, because I think that is true. If you don't allow yourself to fail, I think the way maybe failure is viewed in the world, rather than like seeing it as like a positive thing, you think, oh my gosh, I need to run away from this. But like to me now, every failure is like a chance to definitely learn a lesson whether like learning a lesson about myself and my skills or learning a lesson about that thing that like I'm doing is like, I think is more valuable sometimes than even the successes. Because like if you are good at everything, like what's left?
Do you know, it's only really in my 40s that I was like, okay, and now I know what I'm good at.
Yeah.
But I also know what I'm bad at. I think when I was in my 20s, I felt I had to prove myself.
Yeah.
In my 30s, I feel like I found myself, mostly because I came to the end of myself with my children and I realized, okay, I'm not good at everything. And in my 40s, I'm like, right, I know I'm not good at that and that's fine, but I'm really good at this. And there's seasons in your life. So I do think you spend a lot of your life figuring out who you are, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And some of that comes with age and maturity, but experience as well. So yeah, it's a journey.
But even just the term faithfully plodding along, like I'm
Honestly.
thinking about this, but the desire to keep trying, like despite the fact that, okay, I might not have succeeded, but just continuing each day and just the small efforts, the small actions. And I think even just, let's like think about like masterpieces, right? What, for example, even the painting on the wall, I'm pretty certain like it didn't just manifest in one day. Like it's the continuous actions and desiring, like, okay, I have this vision, this is what I want to do, and it might not look like that right now, but at least I know where I'm trying to go, even if it doesn't look clear. But I think as Christians, definitely the faith is probably the most important thing, because the journey might not always look like straightforward and clear. But I think if you have faith, because even faith is not like a clear, tangible thing. It's like, I believe. So just the belief that, okay, things are actually going to turn out good, positive in the end is important.
Everybody's journey is different. And faith is being sure of what you hope for, isn't it? And certain of what you do not see. And you're right, it's not always tangible. But it is a journey. And actually, I think in our social media world, where you get the before and after shots, or you just get the click the fingers and it's done. What it loses is the process. And actually we have to create space for that process, because that process is messy and painful and lengthy sometimes. You know, from the time that I had the vision for the network to launching it was actually a good 5 years. And then launching the directory was even longer. It was about 10 years, because I knew I wanted to do it and do it well. So I had to pitch for seed funding. So I got seed funding to build the directory. And the third part of the vision was a network directory and recognition awards. And we've not done that yet, but I've always kind of been waving the flag for it, because again, I want to do it well. And I think we are in the danger of this instant culture that we forget there's a process. And if you're not instantly good at something, you feel like you failed, or I'm not good enough. Or, you know, I see it with my children. They like see all these makeup tutorials online and they come out looking like, that's nice. and then they think, oh, I'm rubbish at makeup. But then they just keep trying and trying because they love doing it. And then I'm like, wow, that looks amazing. And so we just have to remember there is a journey to everything, and just keep doing it, keep putting yourself out there.
But even like the Bible tells us not to despise like the days
of a little
like,
small beginnings.
So that just tells you the beginning is the most important part, just starting, and before you know, you will actually grow into what obviously God has made you. And even like you said earlier about pricing work, actually when you are starting out, you don't have all the skills and all the expertise. When I first started my design business, I was more concerned about whether I could actually do the work. I was questioning my own ability. And then as time's gone on, I can sit on a sofa with a client and I know I can do it. I don't know what I'm going to do, because creativity, they're asking for a logo. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know I can do it because I have the experience. And it's more about, are they going to be a right fit for me? And so I feel, 18 years on, not sat there feeling a sham saying, yes, I can do it and take their money, but not really sure if I can, to now knowing I can do it, knowing the value I can bring to them, but then knowing that actually I can charge a lot more for this because I've invested, my degree, that cost a lot, 18 years of experience. And actually, because there's so I've gone off on a tangent.
No.
But there's different models of pricing. You can price per hour and set a fixed rate. But what happens if now, 18 years on, I can do something in an hour that 18 years ago took me a whole day? Do I still charge per hour? No, I have to charge for my expertise and my experience. So that model falls down if you're charging per hour, but also you can charge on the value you bring. So if I build a website for a multinational company, they're going to make a lot of money through this website. So I'm bringing huge value to them. So I can up my price. Whereas if I'm doing something maybe for a smaller charity, I would reduce my price because it's hugely valuable to them. But I also know that they don't have as big a pockets. So pricing work in a service industry anyway, which is what I am, it's an art, not a science. And sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong. And then you have to have awkward conversations halfway through a project when it's changed and it's not what it started at. And you should talk about money. I hate talking about money. But I had to learn to get over myself. So that was a little aside. It's a journey, pricing and valuing yourself.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing your insights and experience. I'll just say one of the things that I've picked out that really stands out for me, and she will as well. So what I'm picking out from our discussion today is that my creativity is a form of worship to God, and failures is part of the journey, is one that I should embrace, really. Yeah. Those two lessons really stood out for me. Do you want to go?
I really like the term faithfully plodding along.
You'll remember that one, won't you?
I will. Because, and it's true, there's a before and then there's an after, and we never know what's in between. And the in between is the plodding, like you just have to keep going. So I think for me, definitely don't just look at the before and the after. Ask what was the process like? Yeah. What are you currently doing? What are you going through? What are you learning in that journey? So that's my takeaway.
Okay, so I just want to ask a quick one about Christian Creative Network. For people that want to join, where can they find you?
So christiancreativenetwork.com is the website, and you can sign up to a mailing list, and you can also click on the branches, and there are 7 branches in the UK. If there isn't one near you, I'm really sorry, but if you're interested in launching a branch, you can get in touch and we can send you a branch leader application pack. And if you're interested in the Christian Creative Directory, that's christiancreativedirectory.com. And if you are a creative individual or business, you can sign up and create yourself a profile. There's a small fee of $3.50 a month. And if you are a business looking for creatives, you can also click add opportunity and you can advertise your creative opportunity.
Wow. That's succinct. All right. I really, 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 really enjoyed our discussion. Do you have any final words to just share with the audience?
I do, actually, just because I guess this underpins the reason why I do the network and the directory. And I believe that we are in a creative renaissance within the church. And renaissance simply means a renewed interest. So there was a time when the church was leading the way with creativity. If you look back in history, you see it with fine art, stained glass, hymns, cathedrals. There was a real beauty and a value of it. And actually in the 16th century, when they simplified the gospel, it felt like the value of creativity was lost. And since then, at the time it was kind of negligible, but since then, this gap, it's like the world is not looking to the church for this creative excellence. And I think there are pockets of the body of Christ that do it well, but as a whole, there's a kind of weak creative culture, or not a value on creativity. And I believe that creativity is one of the most influential tools available to the church, and yet the most underutilized. But the good thing is that we are in this renaissance of creativity, and books have been written about it and people are talking about it. And there is a creative renaissance globally, not just in the church. But it excites me as a creative because it gives me a different perspective on the value, on the tool that I've given. Actually, the church needs this. And we saw it in lockdown when the church couldn't say, come to us anymore. We had to go to them. It was the videographers, the podcasters. It was the going out. And those are the creative tools. So creativity kind of is a vehicle to deliver a message or a bridge, that connect. And so that excites me. So I'll leave you with that we are in this creative renaissance.
Creativity is a vehicle to deliver a message or a bridge that connects.
Yes.
I think we all think that the gospel should be enough, but like sometimes like people need like a bridge, a link to bring
Jesus used stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Storytelling's a creative skill set.
Yes, it is. All right. Thank you. Sorry. We'll have more time to spend going forward, God willing. Don't forget, creativity is a vehicle to deliver a message or a bridge to connect. Josie, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your presence. We value you. And do you want to pray for us to just close the podcast?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Well, Father, we thank you that you first revealed yourself as a creator God.
Thank you, Lord.
And Lord, I thank you for this creative podcast, that the skills that have come together to do it. And I pray for blessing and favor. I pray for those that listen to these encouraging words from the multitude of episodes that will come through this podcast. And I just pray your blessing and favor. And I speak your creativity and permission to be creative over anybody who hears this message, and that you might just fan that flame of re-infused value for creativity within the church. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that okay?
Thank you so much for honoring us.
No problem.
All right.
I feel like I need to help you as well. Oh, thank you.
Okay. See you some other time. All right. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.